And in this command mode, you can run some command, read some files, spawn a shell. For example, if I want to read root.txt, I can read that file, spawn a shell, ! /bin/bash. Okay. Hey amazing hackers, I'm TORHAT from HM Cyber Academy. Today we'll be looking at vaccine box from tier 2 of starting point of HackTheBox. First of all, we connect to VPN. I have already done it. Next we spawn the machine and this is its IP address. Let's go to terminal, sudo nano zshell rc, change the IP and get your own IP as well. So if config turn 0. So this is my IP address, paste it and save it. So let's close it. So zshell. Okay, so this would pop up a new zshell. So the next step is usually nmap scan. Okay, so nmap $IP and service version scan and default scripts and check all the ports and only run the scans on open ports. And if normal scan doesn't work, use no ping scan, use the verbosity so that I can start digging without waiting for the scan to complete, and --min rate will speed up the scanning with 2000 requests per second. Okay, so let's send it. I can immediately see that port 22, which is probably SSH, port 21, which is probably FTP, port 80, which is probably HTTP. Okay, let's go back to HackTheBox. Besides SSH and HTTP, what other service is hosted on this box? So we know that this is SSH and this is HTTP and this is probably FTP. Okay, so let's say FTP and submit. Okay, cool. This service can be configured to allow login with any password or specific username. Okay, so what is that username? So by this service, they are mentioning the previous service which we discussed, which is FTP. Okay, so FTP can be configured to allow login with any password. Okay, so that username is anonymous. Okay, so before we continue, just save the nmap scan, copy, open your notes, save it, and I can see that it is Linux and I can see port 80, which is HTTP, and these are the supported methods. So if I scroll up, I can see port 22, which is SSH, and if I scroll up, I can see port 21, which is FTP, and I can see that FTP anon, which is anonymous FTP login allowed. Okay, so anyone can access this FTP service using anonymous login. Okay, after login, it can also detect that there is a backup.zip file. Okay, so let's try to log in. FTP anonymous at $IP. Okay, so hit enter. So you can give any password. Let's give anonymous. Okay, so we have successfully logged in. Okay, so the user that we're discussing here is also anonymous. So let's submit it. What is the name of the file downloaded over this service? So the name of the file that we can see here is backup.zip. Okay, so this is the file that we can download. Okay, so let's paste it, submit, and let's get this file as well, paste it. Okay, so it is downloaded. Let's exit it, and if you type ls, you can see this file. So since it is a zip file, let's try to unzip it. Okay, so it's asking for a password. I don't know any password, so let's give random characters. So it cannot unzip because the password is incorrect. So we need a password for this zip file. Okay, so whenever you see a zip file that needs a password, you need to remember about zip to John. Okay, and then if you give this backup file and redirect this to some file, okay, let's say zip.hash. So this file doesn't exist, but when I use this script, this will convert this zip file to something that John can crack. Okay, so we know that John the Ripper is the tool for cracking hashes, right? We're converting this file to some hash file. Okay, so let's send it. Okay, it is done. If you type ls, you can see some more file, and if you just cat that zip file, John can crack this pk zip file. Okay, so if you go back, what script comes with John the Ripper toolset and generates a hash from the password protected zip archive in a format to allow cracking attempts. So it is zip to John. Okay, let's submit. What is the password for admin user on the website? So we don't know it yet. So let's go back and let's crack this. We can see that index.php exists over here, so this can give some information about the website. Okay, so you say John and dash dash word list, and this is the word list that I'm using, rocky.txt. Okay, and finally you give this zip hash file. Okay, and John is clever enough to detect this zip hash file as pkzip, and it will run the scan. Okay, so it immediately dumped us the password. Okay, so this seems to be the password. So let's save it. Backup.zip has this password. So let's unzip it and give this password. And now we can see some more files. So style.css is nothing but a CSS file, so we can just ignore it. So let's see what is this file. Okay, so let's check it using mousepad because of more visibility. So if I just zoom in, I can see that some username in the post request and the password in the post request should match the username admin and the password with MD5 hash as this. Okay, so now we're talking about MD5 hashes. So if we just unhash this file, then we will get the password for admin. Okay, so let's copy it and use hashcat. So we have already cracked some hashes using hashcat, right? So let's type h, and as you can see the usage as hashcat and some options, and you can give either hash or hash file or some other file. Okay, so I'm directly giving the hash because I can directly get the hash from here, right? I don't have to save it in a file, followed by the dictionary, which I will give the rock.txt. So hashcat and attack mode as 0 and hash mode as MD5. Okay, so if you just scroll up, you can see that hash type is 0, means MD5 hash. Okay, let's give the hash right here and followed by the word list, okay, which is rocky.txt. So everything is set. Let's send it. Okay, looks like it's done. And as you can see, the hash has been cracked and this is the password. Okay, so let's copy this one and go to the notes. Admin's password is this. Okay, so let's go to the website because we know that HTTP exists. So this is the website. So let's copy the IP address and paste it over here. While it loads, let's go back to HackTheBox. And what is the password of the admin user? This is the password for the admin user. So let's copy it, paste it over here. So let's go back, admin and the password, and sign in. Okay, we have a Megacore car catalog. So can we search any car that we want? So let's search for Alpha, submit. Okay, I can see that only that particular row is shown. Okay, so this actually looks like some table, right, with these as the titles and these are the rows. So it seems like we're dealing with a database that looks like an SQL. Okay, when we search for something and that particular request actually deals with a database, we can actually look for SQL injection right here. Okay, either in get request or post request or whichever request you want. Okay, so let's copy this particular request. Let's go to HTTP history and I can see that this is the search equals to alpha. I'll just save this particular request, save item, and let's go to home, desktop, HackTheBox, starting point, tier 2, vaccine, and I'm going to say that request.txt. Okay, I'm saving it as a text file. Okay, it has been saved successfully. So let's go back to terminal and I can see that file over here. Okay, let's use SQL map and I'm giving the request as request.txt. Whenever the SQL map asks for certain types of searches, I don't want it to ask me. I want it to use default options. So let's say batch. So if I can find any SQL injection in this particular request, then I want to pop up a shell. Okay, for that I use os-shell. So this batch will autocomplete the defaults, and this OS shell will pop up a shell. Okay, so let's send it. Okay, it's already taking the defaults. Okay, it's saying something is injectable, so it's taking its time. Okay, we get some time-based SQL injection and we got a shell. So this particular shell is kind of unstable. So what we can do is, using this shell, we get even better shell. Okay, so let's use another terminal and say netcat nlvp 8888. So it is listening right here. Using this shell, we can try to see what we have. So who am I? Okay, I am Postgres. If I type which bash, I can see that this is the bash that we have. Okay, so let's go to pentest monkey and let's try to use this shell. Okay, so if this doesn't work, we will go with some other shell. Okay, let's paste it, change it to 8888 and change this to my IP, control V and send it. Okay, looks like we did not get any shell. Okay, so let's use something else. If we have netcat, we can try using this. So let's use which netcat. Okay, netcat exists. So let's use this and let's send it. Okay, so still we did not get any shell. So let's use some other reverse shell. Let's copy this. Let's paste it over here. Let's change the IP address 8888, paste it and send it. Okay, so now we got a shell. Okay, this shell is also kind of unstable, so we have to make it a stable shell. Okay, so let's go back to standards and let's copy this. So let's check which Python 3. Okay, Python 3 exists. Control C, Control V, send it. Okay, now we spawned a shell. So let's Control Z to suspend it. Let's go back, stty raw echo fg, export term equals to xterm. We got disconnected. Interesting. So let's try that once again. So exit out of here and we're back to shell. So let's use the same command, but before that, let's use netcat and send it. And now we got the shell again. Let's be quick this time. So let's paste it over here, send it, stty raw echo fg, control Z, paste it and export term equals to xterm. So now we got some kind of stable shell. So let's zoom it. Let's hit ls. I can see so many files right here. So let's try to get some passwords. So let's say grep -r will search recursively for password in the current location and send all the errors to /dev/null. Okay, so let's send it. Okay, there are so many matches and all of them are binary files. So we don't want to search in binary files. So let's search in some location that we know. Okay, so we know that web server runs in /var/www/html, right? And send the errors to /dev/null and send it. Okay, so we can see that this particular file has this thing over here. Okay, so it looks like the username is Postgres and the password is password. Okay, so let's copy this and let's save it right here and password. Do we find anything else? We don't find anything else. Since port 22 is open right here, so we can try to get a stable shell using SSH. Okay, we can close this and SSH Postgres $IP. And if you send it and it's asking for a fingerprint, let's say yes. And the password is this one. Let's send it. So now we got a stable shell. Okay, so if I type ls, I see user.txt. Let's cat that user.txt. Now I got user flag. So let's go back to HackTheBox. And what option did we use for SQL map to get a shell? So it is --os shell. Okay, so let's submit. So what program can the Postgres user run as root using sudo? Okay, so it's saying that basically we can use sudo, right? So let's try to use sudo -l to see what this Postgres user can run as sudo. Okay, so it's asking for a password, control C, control V, and send it. So we can see that user Postgres may run the following commands on vaccine. So this particular program is having all permissions only when it runs this particular file. So the program is VI. So let's copy this, let's paste it over here and send it. Okay, what is the user flag? This is the user flag. Let's copy it, paste it over here, submit root flag. Okay, to get root access, we can use this vi command to open this file as sudo, okay, which will run as root. Okay, so basically we can just copy this whole thing and say sudo and paste it over here. Okay, if you hit enter, and you can see that that particular files opens in vi. Okay, so initially we will be in command mode. Okay, if you're not in command mode, press escape. That will bring you to command mode, and in this command mode you can actually run some command or read some extra files, or you can spawn a shell. Okay, for example, if I want to read a particular file called root.txt, you can see that I can read that particular file. Okay, or if I want to spawn a shell, all I can do is !bin/bash. Okay, so as you can see, I'm root right now. Okay, so if I type cd, I go to the root directory, and if I type ls, I see this file cat root.txt. So let's submit and we're done. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.